What up? We're back. Got another weekly recap for you guys today. And we're going to be going over the week of June 22nd to June 26th. And in this video, I'm going to be going through each trade that I took each day, as well as the ideal trade of the session. So we're going to be going through my markups so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing, how I'm trading, and things of that nature. And then I'm also going to be talking about in this video losing streaks. This last week was one of the hardest weeks for me trading wise because I lost 4 days in a row. And as you can see, I'm on my TradeZella right here. 4 days in a row. I did end the Friday with a big green day, which was really nice. But you can see, just if we go back to the last 2 months, like I don't really have that many losing days in a row like I did this past week, right? So it's quite interesting, and I think it just kind of goes to show even if you take a good trade, sometimes it's going to be a loser, and that's okay. And we're going to see that. While I go through my markups here. But let's just jump in. Like always, we are going to start with the ideal trade of the session first. And I like doing this because my goal is for the ideal trade of the session to be the trade that I took, right? So that's why I like to do these markups. So no, I didn't take this trade, but this is the trade under my setup, right? So right here, this blue line is the New York VWAP. It's anchored to the 6:30 my time, the New York market open. I mark out this pivot, and basically I'm looking for it to break above this pivot, which it did twice, here and here. And then I'm waiting for it to come back and close below the VWAP, enter on that candle close. This is on a 2-minute chart. And these are all NQ. By the way, unless I'll specify. I'm pretty sure all the trades I took this week were NQ other than one day. I think I did ES one day. But yes, target was this green line, which is the all-time high VWAP. So it's just VWAP anchored to the all-time high. And this is a 2-point AR. I think it got tapped right there. So that was the ideal trade of the session. I traded NQ, but I got in, right? So the ideal entry was right here. I got in a little early, so I marked out that same pivot. It broke above, right? And I entered here with a stop loss above there. And, sometimes this would have just ran like after kind of closing below this VWAP here. But I ended up getting stopped out, and I think this honestly is a great example of just patience, letting a little bit more structure form, right? So if we were just looking at this part, right, it's just not enough information yet. So that's why I think it's better to just be patient and really make sure you know what you're doing. But it's hard because sometimes that can lead to hesitancy, right? You never want to be hesitant on your entries either. So just a little unlucky here. I basically, like you can see, I got in basically at the same price, right? But I just, got wicked out here. So that's the trade that I took. That was my first loss of the week. All right, next day, Tuesday. So again, looking for another short. This is the ideal trade. Marked out this pivot. This is around like 650. And you can see it really was respecting this pivot level as well. It came up and tapped this purple line, which is the overnight VWAP, and kind of breaks below and closes finally below that blue New York VWAP that's anchored to the New York Open. And targeting a 1.5R, which is basically here. And you can see this would have been like a really long hold. What is this? You would have got in around 7:45, exit around 11:45. What is that? 4 hours? That's pretty nuts. Am I doing that math right? Yeah. That's a long trade. But you can see, you were barely in drawdown, right? But you also could have just cut it early too, potentially. But that was the ideal trade. I was looking for a long. I was doing the opposite. So I marked out this pivot here, and this is on ES too. So I marked out this pivot here and broke below, right? There's another pivot here that it also broke below and held above. But then it came up, closed above this pivot and above the New York VWAP. So entered there. And honestly, this close above the purple VWAP too was even more confirmation. I was like, all right, this trade is probably has a higher probability of working out than not, right, to the longs. And Zooming out too, like I feel like market sentiment this day was bullish, right? So I was looking for longs and targeting that previous high. And as you can see, that did not work out and stopped me out, right? Even if I had my stop below this, still would have stopped me out. All right, second loss in a row. Wednesday, ideal. Okay, again, 6:30. We got the 6:30 pivot right here. Breaks above it here. Closes below right there. Boom, enter right there. Immediately, you would have been in a drawdown. All this, you would have been in the red, right? But then you can see it obviously broke lower. This 1.5R was also a key level. Can't see it on the screen on this screenshot, but and I also want to talk a little bit about NQ versus ES. So this is NQ, and honestly, I would have never even been able to take this trade because of how big the stop loss is. Even with one MNQ, this stop loss is around like $370, right? So I only ever risk $200 on the day. So my stop would have just either had to have been more tight, but that's why I'm really kind of considering, I trade 50K accounts right now, and I'm considering bumping up to 100K accounts so that I'm able to trade even just one MNQ, right? Because then my daily loss limit would double. It would go from $200 to $400. So that would allow me to trade NQ sometimes. Because sometimes I'm not really able to do it because it's just the stop loss that I want. Because I want my stop losses at invalidation points. So sometimes when NQ is really kind of like moving a lot, the stop loss is just too big for it's bigger than my daily stop, so I just would never take this trade. But so that's why sometimes I'll switch over to ES and trade that, which I think I might have done this day, because that one I feel like I'm able to like really, even with one or two MES contracts, I'm able to have the stop right where I want it. So yeah, that's something that I'm kind of like considering. Yes, so I took this trade on ES, I believe. All right, we're just going to keep trucking forward. But this is the trade that I took, the short on ES. And you can see pivot, marked this pivot out. And it broke above it here. Marked this pivot out, broke above, closed below the VWAP. And I was targeting 1.5R. Honestly, hindsight, I should have just... I should have taken profit right here, because this was like more of like a 1R, but I don't know if I got a little greedy. I think I just need to I need to switch it to like 1R or above, like anything like 1.5 if it's to structure, right? Like this was just 1.5 because it's a 1.5 as opposed to like targeting a previous structure, which would have been, these here. And you can see too, right? Like I marked out this pivot and you can see it broke below it. It broke below it again, and like honestly, like I saw a long, as I was in this trade, this is a long setup, right? Entering here to go long. So it was kind of like, I felt like a little pretty wishy-washy. This day was pretty choppy. And that led to my third loss in a row. This was on Wednesday. All right, Thursday ideal. Marked out this pivot, retest, close above the New York, enter, targeting 1.5R, which was this purple VWAP here. And the stop loss is a little tight again because it's NQ. So this would have been a trade that I would have been able to take. But again, like if I was in a 100K account, I would move this stop all the way down here, because there's a world in which, right, I enter here, it kind of like stops me out, goes here, and then goes. And if I would have had my stop where I wanted to, which would have been like right here, the trade still would have worked out. And it just kind of gives you a little bit of a bigger buffer. Okay, I did not trade that trade. I took a loss. So this is literally like what happened. So I think this was a little later in the day than the previous one, and so marked out this pivot, breaks lower, closes above, entered here, targeting that overnight VWAP, because ES was already here. ES was already above this overnight, so I was trying to just catch it on NQ, and it ended up actually doing that, but again, because my stop loss was so tight, yeah, this is literally what happened. I would have ideally wanted it here because this trade actually ended up working out, but the stop was just too tight. Like this was my daily loss limit. But again, if I would have had it here, this would have played out really nicely. So this was Thursday, and this was my 4th loss in a row. And I was like, fuck, I forgot how to trade. I literally was like, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I just like couldn't read the market. I feel like I was like looking for longs. I feel like I was also like looking for shorts. Okay, we're going to go to Friday's trades, and then I'm going to talk about losing streaks. That's how we're going to end the video. All right. This was the ideal. And I took this long, but I entered the long over here. My trade was over here. So this was the ideal. You have the market open. You have a pre-market key pivot right here. It breaks below it, and then it closes on the same candle. It closes above the VWAP. Entered here, 1.5R, boom. That was the ideal trade, I think. Even though it is a little early, you know, this is like 6:36. That's why I didn't do it. Not that I hesitated, but again, I think from previous experience of the week, I just wanted to wait for a little bit more structure. So this was actually a pretty beautiful trade that I took. Just a lot of consolidation. You can see it was just above VWAP, below, above, below, above, below. Like I was like, let me just wait to see what happens. It finally breaks, and this whole time I'm just waiting for a pullback to the blue VWAP, which it did here. I immediately entered stop loss at daily loss limit, targeting that previous structure. Boom, 1.8R. Yeah. And that's it. And that is it. And I ended the week with that $368 trade. And again, this isn't just one account. I'm copying 3 accounts, so you can multiply all these numbers by 3. But I like to, if you're copy trading and you're looking at your TradeZella, like I like to look at one account as opposed to all of them, because it's a little bit more like, you know, a $226 loss is a little bit better than looking at like a $600 loss, right? Like these numbers are just like scarier to me. But this one's nice, 1.1K day. That was nice. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about losing streaks, because I think like it's so crazy how, like, just for me, my mindset, I ended the week pretty like green, and I was so excited to come in, and like I had that first losing day, I was like, all right, no problem. Second losing day, oh shit, that sucks. And then this third losing day, I was like, fuck. And then I feel like I just had like a lot of pressure on me, and then I came and lost again, and I was like, dude, like my accounts are like if I lose Friday, basically I'm like halfway to blowing these accounts that I've been trading for so long. But you know what? I just kind of stuck to the system. I looked at my trades, and I realized like these trades, even though they were losers, like some of these trades I would take. Like these are just bad these are like good losses. I mean, these are good losses. Like this trade, dude, I would take this trade every single time that this presents. And again, it just didn't work, and that's okay. This isn't a bad trade. It's not a random trade, right? I think that's the thing, right? Like you don't want to just be taking random trades. As long as you're able to understand why you took a certain trade, that is more important than it being a winner or a loser, right? Like if you're just doing random shit, like yeah, you're going to blow accounts, but like this trade, dude, I would take this again and again. Let's look at my other ones too. This trade, again, just unlucky. I think I could have been a little bit more patient here, right? Entered where the ideal entry was. But again, like this trade even also like isn't a bad trade either. This could have easily just kept ripping down, hit my TP, and then went up. Like just unlucky. That's part of the game. Same here, low key, same thing. Like this trade, like this could have kept going. And so it's like these are good losses, right? These aren't just, I would say my worst trade was that Thursday trade. Like this trade, this is not a good trade because the stop is just way too tight, right? It'd be better if it was here. And yeah, what's the 625 ideal? No, yeah, I fucked this up. But yeah, I mean, just based on looking at this one, right? The stop is just too tight. This is not the ideal trade. The ideal trade would have a much more wider stop, right? So I think, you know, what helped me was knowing that, okay, a winning trade and a winning day are not the same thing. Similarly to a losing day and a losing trade are not the same thing. If you lose a trade, right, if it's a good loss, you won the day. So that's what I like. Those 4 days that I lost, they were all good, solid trades. So like, why would I just sit there and beat myself up over these trades that I would have taken again and maybe they would have worked out in my favor, right? So I think for losing streaks, you just have to continue to show up, man. Like, and don't even like think about like, oh, I'm in a losing streak. Like, because I said to one of my buddies, I was like, man, I feel like I'm just on a losing streak. He's like, oh, how many days have you lost in a row? I was like, it's the 4th day. He's like, dude, that's not even, it's like 4 losing days in a row. Okay, like, it's going to happen. It's not a streak, right? If it's like 9 losing days in a row, like, okay, we got something, what's going on, right? So just give yourself some grace, be patient. Trading is a long game, and 4 trading days, it's not gonna, in the grand scheme of things, zooming out, like, it's not gonna make or break you. So continue to show up, continue to just like, you know, stick to your system, stick to your rules. I think that is when losing streaks can really affect people, is when you start, you know, you come back and you over leverage, you revenge trade, you over trade, you take more, you break your system. That is when losing streaks can really affect you. And then you blow accounts and then you kick yourself for it. It's like, you know, just continue to show up, continue to stick to your rules, stick to your system, because that is what's going to pull you out of drawdown. And you can see, right, already, like, I ended, my trade today kind of came up here already. But you can see, right, like, I had a big green day on the 26th, showed up, stuck to my strat. Today I had a winning day as well. So it's like I've already like basically recouped in these 2 days what I lost in these 4 days, right? I'm still in the red a little bit in these last 2 weeks, but not as much as like not as much as I would have if I would have just like revenge traded or not stuck to my system, right? So just continue sticking to your system, continue showing up for yourself, and yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you subscribe if you enjoy this content, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.